In a move that immediately sets the tone for one of the most anticipated seasonal tournaments in professional wrestling, 3 members of the Don Callis family have officially become the first confirmed entrants in the 2025 AEW Continental Classic. The announcement was made in the aftermath of the company's flagship pay-per-view event, fueling speculation, intrigue, and strategic recalibrations across the AEW roster. By staking early claim in the tournament field, the Don Callis family has not only positioned itself as a dominant force, but also signaled that the Continental Classic may serve as a battleground for faction supremacy, star elevation, and long-term storyline construction. The Continental Classic is an annual round-robin style tournament hosted by All Elite Wrestling (AEW). First introduced in 2023, it has become one of the promotion's flagship seasonal competitions. Key features include: participants are divided into 2 leagues, commonly called the Blue and Gold Leagues, and face off in round-robin matches. Matches typically follow continental rules, for example a time limit, often 20 minutes, no outside interference, and restrictions on outside involvement. The prize, the newly introduced AEW Continental Championship, are title privilege and the prestige associated with winning the tournament. The tournament begins in late November, around Thanksgiving Eve, and culminates at a year-end pay-per-view event. Thus, the Continental Classic serves multiple purposes. It gives a competitive platform outside of standard title matches, reinforces major storylines, builds momentum heading into the new year, and typically elevates a performer or faction to a new tier. The Don Callis family is a prominent faction in AEW, led on-screen by veteran manager, promoter figure Don Callis. Over recent months, the group has expanded its presence, recruited major names, and pursued high-stakes storylines across tag, trios and singles competition. At the recent AEW Full Gear pay-per-view November 22, 2025, backstage segments revealed that 2 of the faction's newest recruits, Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher, had declared their entry into the 2025 Continental Classic. Additionally, longtime member and AEW Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada, by virtue of holding the title, is automatically entered in the field. Therefore, the first confirmed participants in the tournament all hail from the Don Callis family. This gives the faction a strategic advantage. They occupy early strong positioning, control narrative momentum, and can build a storyline where the family is both dominant and perhaps vulnerable, through internal tension in tournament play. The early entry of these 3 Don Callis family members carries a number of implications. 1. Faction Supremacy Challenge. When multiple members of one faction are entered in a major tournament, it naturally raises the question, will the faction dominate? Will they advance together? Or will internal competition tear them apart? By entering Takeshita, Fletcher and Okada, the family sets the table for all of the above. In essence, AEW appears to be crafting a narrative in which the Don Callis family is not just a side player, but central to major competition. This raises the stakes for other factions and single stars, forcing them to either align, oppose or disrupt the family's march. 2. Protecting and elevating talent. Takeshita and Fletcher are relatively newer high-profile additions to AEW's singles landscape, especially in tournament scenarios. Their participation, under the Don Callis banner, gives them a platform to shine, but also to absorb meaningful losses if needed without diminishing the tournament's prestige. For Okada, as the Continental Champion and the automatic entrant, the tournament gives him a chance to validate his title reign and further cement or challenge his legacy within AEW. Winning the tournament would bolster his status, stumbling would create storyline tension. 3. Internal tension and storyline hotbed. A trope in pro wrestling tournaments involving factions is that intra-faction conflict becomes inevitable. Who gets the pin? Who takes the heat? Who's the real leader? The early reports already hint at tension between Okada and Takeshita, stemming from recent miscommunications and failures in trios competition. This internal fault line is rich for dramatic storytelling. Maybe Takeshita feels underutilized, maybe Fletcher wants respect, maybe Okada resents interference. The tournament becomes the stage where these narrative threads either explode or are resolved. 4. Tournament prestige and faction agenda. By front-loading the tournament field with Don Callis family names, AEW may be signaling that the Continental Classic is no longer just a side tournament but central to the faction wars and singles main event scenes. If one of the family wins, they not only secure the tournament trophy but claim symbolic dominion over AEW's next chapter. If they lose, it becomes a major storyline, our dominance shattered by an outsider. 5. Impact on the wider AEW roster. Other stars and factions in AEW, e.g., the Elite, Brodito, the Conglomeration, etc., now have clear targets. The early entry of the family sets up an arrow pointed at the rest of the locker room, who will step up to challenge the family's dominance. It forces storylines into motion earlier, builds viewer investment, and raises stakes for upcoming Dynamite and Collision broadcasts. Kazuchika Okada, as the reigning AEW Continental Champion, Okada's automatic entry is significant. He brings international prestige from his NJPW background and now anchors the family's singles ambitions. His performance in the tournament will likely be framed as a test of whether he truly rules the continent, hence, Continental. Konosuke Takeshita, a rising star, Takeshita brings youth, energy and a desire to prove himself. His entry signals that the family trusts him to compete at high level. But his storyline friction with Okada suggests his path may be as much about defining his own place as about winning. Kyle Fletcher is perhaps the wildcard. Coming up through tag ranks and now being positioned for singles prominence, his early entry gives him a chance to seize the spotlight. His recent momentum and alignment with the family make him a strong contender, and the narrative potential is high for him to either break out or be consumed by faction expectations. According to official AEW announcements, the 2025 Continental Classic begins on Wednesday, November 26, the Thanksgiving Eve edition of Dynamite, and will extend through December, culminating at the World's End pay-per-view on December 27. The tournament format: 2 leagues, Blue League and Gold League, each with 6 participants, total of 12 in a round-robin format. Each match is contested under Continental rules, 20-minute time limit, no interference at ringside, and no outside involvement. After the league phase, the top performers advance to playoffs. The winner of each league faces runner-up of the opposite league, with the final match determining the Continental Classic winner and, implicitly, next major title contender. The tournament gives a structured path and time frame. From late November to late December, AEW can build weekly storylines, matches on Dynamite and Collision, and progress toward the finale. With the Don Callis family occupying the first 3 spots, AEW and its creative team now have several key threads to build. Weekly build: on the November 26 Dynamite, we should expect the first official tournament matches. Perhaps Okada will open his campaign, while Takeshita and Fletcher may face early opponents designed to highlight their styles and underlying tensions. Backstage segments will likely emphasize the family's dynamic, for instance, Okada meeting with Callis, Takeshita training aggressively, Fletcher issuing challenges. Other participants, yet to be announced, will be introduced in the weeks following, maybe including established stars, dark horse entrants, or cross-brand surprises. The family's early presence makes them a reference point. Storyline flashpoints: internal friction: Okada's dominance may clash with Takeshita's ambition. Fletcher may feel like he's climbing under the radar. Don Callis may push them hard, causing strain. External challenge: other factions will aim to halt the family's sweep. Matches between family members and outsiders carry extra weight. Tournament drama: given the 20-minute time limit rule, strategic matches matter. The family's unity or lack of it may be tested when, say, Takeshita and Fletcher face each other in the same block, or Okada faces an opponent who taunts him about the family. Title implications: if Okada wins the tournament, his Continental Championship or next title step will be heavily validated. If he fails, it could set up a story of vulnerability and internal dissent. Key matches to watch: Okada versus a major non-family challenger early in his block, to establish stakes. Takeshita versus a veteran, to test his mettle and highlight his trajectory. Fletcher versus an opponent who mocks his tag team past or questions his singles legitimacy. A possible family internal match or scenario where 2 family members collide, depending on block design, this could be mid-tournament to heighten tension. Semifinals, finals at World's End pay-per-view, where one of these members may be involved, meaning the family could stake claim to the title. Though only the 3 family members are confirmed so far, the presence of the family sets the baseline. Other participants will now be framed in relation to them. Can you stop the family? Or, which outsider will break through? This means non-family entrants might include established main eventers seeking redemption, mid-card stars whose breakthrough moment lies in defeating family members, surprise entrants possibly cross-promotional or, for one night only, to up the unpredictability. AEW will likely reveal the rest of the field over the next 1 to 2 weeks, with each entrant's narrative aligned to the tournament's broader arc. While the build is strong, there are risks AEW must navigate. Overdominance of the family. If the family sweeps the tournament too easily, other competitors may look weak. The creative team must ensure credible challengers. Internal confusion. If the internal storyline of the family becomes too convoluted, audiences may lose focus. Clear character motivations and stakes are key. Tournament fatigue. A long block tournament can lose momentum if matches feel repetitive. AEW must keep matchups fresh, vary styles, and deliver surprise moments. Crowd investment. The announcement must be followed by compelling matches and segments. Simply positioning the family early isn't enough, execution will determine impact. The Continental Classic arrives at a key moment in AEW's calendar, post-Full Gear, leading into Christmas and year-end shows. Historically, wrestling promotions leveraged this period to create major story pivots, elevate stars, and set up January-February story cycles. By starting late November and ending December 27, the tournament bridges 2 calendar years and becomes a launch pad for 2026 narratives. For AEW, having the Don Callis family at the center of this tournament means they are positioning themselves as central to the company's narrative moving into next year. The tournament can serve as both a culmination of 2025 storylines and a springboard into 2026. The announcement has already sparked discussion among fans and media outlets. For example, one Reddit user commented, "Greater than, so can we get an all Don Callis Family Continental Classic just for the hell of it?" Callis would be exactly the kind of guy to pit all of his guys against each other. This underscores how fans view the family's involvement not just as a challenge to others, but as a self-contained storyline, one where the family may end up facing itself. Media outlets F4W Online, WrestleView, Post Wrestling highlighted that the family's early entry gives them the first mover advantage, setting the narrative bar for the rest of the field. The buzz is not only about who wins but how the family may dominate, or implode, during the tournament. Official full field reveal. AEW is expected to announce the remaining participants and block assignments shortly. The family's members may be placed in different blocks or, for maximum intrigue, the same block. Opening matches and momentum. How Okada, Takeshita and Fletcher open their tournament campaigns will gauge how AEW frames them: dominant, vulnerable, conflicted. Backstage interviews and segments. Watch for tension-building vignettes amongst the family, particularly between Okada and Takeshita, or between Fletcher and the others. Those segments will drive interest. Key upsets or surprise entrants. For the tournament to remain compelling, AEW may sprinkle in surprise names or send in outsiders who challenge the family in early rounds. Finals build to World's End. The tournament build must crescendo at the year-end PPV. Who stands across the ring from a family member at the finals? That will determine the narrative power of the tournament. The early confirmation of 3 Don Callis family members, Kazuka Okada, Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher, as the first entrants in the 2025 AEW Continental Classic sets a bold tone for AEW's holiday tournament season. By staking organizational dominance, storytelling ambition and factional drama, AEW has positioned the tournament as a major narrative pillar. For the Don Callis family, this is more than mere participation, it is a statement of intent. Will they rule the tournament, fracture amidst internal pressure, or be undone by an outsider who rises to the occasion? The weeks ahead will decide not only the tournament's outcome but the trajectory of AEW's key players heading into 2026. For fans, this means heightened stakes, faction warfare, surprise developments in a tournament that promises to deliver far more than simply, who's next champ. It becomes a microcosm of power, legacy, ambition and storytelling, anchored for now by the Don Callis family. As Dynamite on November 26 kicks off the next chapter of the Continental Classic, all eyes will be on how the family leverages its early positioning, how their internal dynamics play out, and whether AEW can use the tournament to build fresh stars as well as solidify established ones.